Howdy, howdy. Welcome to another paint and chat. Same thing, still working on the same old red Corsairs, my kitbashed guys. Pretty excited. Alright, so yesterday we kind of left off. We'd finished all the leather pouches, and we tried the contrast red. So I'm going to kind of go back over and color some of that. Contrast red went on orange, but it actually came out pretty decent. So I'm going to leave the grenades, the frag grenades red, but I'm going to do a double coat on their pauldrons for the red Corsairs. Again, please do bear with me with any audio issues. I'm kind of learning this as I go, but I appreciate your patience. So with this red, it's not exactly going to be kind of an even coat. What we're doing for it is we've already kind of put on a contrast red, and now we're doing a base coat. Again, I do thick colors of paint, mostly for protection because I drop my minis a lot and I'm pretty rough on them. But more importantly, I want it to be non-uniformed. I know it sounds kind of weird. I paint a lot of guard and bolt action. I usually look for uniform stuff. But on these guys, I definitely want them non-uniformed. So it kind of goes with the whole piracy and Renegade Space Marine feel. I feel like painting Chaos so far is kind of like the few times I've painted Orcs where almost like Bob Ross in miniature painting, it's okay to make like happy little mistakes. You know, it kind of just gels along with everything. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's definitely starting to look almost a little more blood red. You know, it's definitely the kind of color we're looking for. So we covered the frag grenades. Usually I'm a very simple painter. You know, I try and get my three colors and I paint my bases, get them ready for the tabletop, you know. I usually paint horde armies, but with these guys I'm trying to make sure things look a little different. So I use the contrast red, like I said, on frag grenades. And now that I only use that, because it went on orange, which worried me. But now it turned red, you know, so that's fine. But I'm glad we're covering their red Corsair pauldrons with this red because it looks much different than the frag grenades. Kind of gives that blood-looking feel. I'm sure Luft would be happy about it. So here in this model, this is just one of the standard Legionnaires. You know, he's got his bolter with a chain bayonet, just for looks, not really for gameplay. But you can tell there's a good example of his pauldron, which is more of a blood red, versus his frag grenades, which is almost more like a just general ordnance style red. So as you can tell, this is going a little bit faster than it did yesterday. Like I said, once we kind of cover their pauldron red, I'll kind of go back and mark over some of the other things that are red, like the grenades and the missiles, hit the leather again, and then I'm going to move on to anything that's steel in color. Apparently, I'd missed these two frag grenades on the melta gun operator yesterday. Hey! Man, Nathan, I can't tell you enough how happy I am to see you. You've always been supportive of this channel, even from way back in the beginning. I remember, trolling As We God's channel, as I do. And, talking about possibly starting my own channel. Both of you guys were super supportive. It means a lot. I appreciate it, brother. Good to see you. But yeah, I think I figured out I don't know if it's a good time to stream. Like I said, I do this for fun. So, I'm not super worried about metrics or anything. But I try to aim to where no one else is kind of streaming, not for the competitive part, but just for I worked mids or graveyard shift most of my life, so I know what it's like to kind of work weird hours. So I'm kind of aiming for the 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Eastern time. And the kind of cool thing with that is for Yanks who can't sleep, we can watch that versus our friends across the pond, they can catch this in the morning. So I think it's kind of cool. Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of Morty and Glory. I'm not sure if you watch his because I'm an Imperial Guard player. And he usually does Monday through Friday streams, kind of late afternoon, evening, which is crazy hours for him, But I figured, this way, if I do it on Saturday and Sunday, I'm not competing with him because I know a lot of the people who watch, the few people who watch this channel likely also watch his, so that way it's not conflicting with any of my friends who have channels out there. I want to be another supportive smaller channel. I don't want to pull views from anything or anything like that. So right now, the leather didn't come out the way I want. I love the snakebite leather contrast paint. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush a little bit of brown on there, and then I'm going to go back over it with leather and see if that kind of gives me a better look. I kind of want this to look aged and used, so... Well, thanks, man. Yeah, so around this time on Saturdays, Sundays, you got time to kill. Is always a super chill place. Like I said, right now I'm working on 40K. It's not always a thing. That's why you can tell there's a lot of like Japanese themed stuff in the channel because I mostly main the Imperial Japanese Army and Imperial Japanese Navy for Bolt Action and Conflict 47. So there'll be a lot more of that once I finish these vows I have for Morty and Strooping the Colors. I gotta finish these 10 bad boys who are literally bad boys, the Renegade Marines. And then I think we're going to build about 30 Trader Guard and kit them out. I'm pretty excited for that. Oh yeah, that was just a crazy idea, but yeah, I think dry brushing this base brown. I think it's Mornfang brown. I think just dry slapping that, dry brushing that bad boy on there, then going back over with leather should be. It might give me that because I'm going for like Han Solo used looking like you know scumbag smuggler style leather. Highly used. Hey Matthew, good to see you, brother. Yeah, I'm super excited because I've always done highly regimented guard units and naval units. So I'm super excited to do a trader guard where it's just like, hey, finders, keepers, losers, stuck when it comes to armament. So it actually should be a lot of fun. While I got you guys here, I would absolutely love y'all's opinion. Let me know. So for these Space Marines, they are Renegade Space Marines, but they're not full horns growing out of their head Chaos Space Marines. So, what color should I do their plasma weapons? Do I need to do it red because they're Chaos and Renegade, or because they're Red Corsairs and they keep stealing shit from the Empire of Man? Should I keep them blue? What do you guys think? Howdy, Baron. What's going on, brother? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Nathan. Because I kind of want them just like real pirates. They don't sail around with the black flag flying. They do a lot of false flag. They want to look like a normal ship until you get up close to the last minute. Then they're gonna come in and start wrecking shit and taking stuff. So I want these guys to kind of look like loyalists from far away, and then when you get close, you're like, oh shit, those aren't loyalists. Yeah, I was toying around with the idea of like what kind of plasma would look really cool like in the void of space. So I was thinking almost like a purple or black plasma with like a little bit of like silver kind of, but that's the more I think about it, I was like, ooh, that's way outside my my skill house. There we go. I was trying to get that leather pop a little bit. So now it looks kind of new. Once I do this kind of like half dry coat, half light coat, I'll go back and put on that contrast if we can age it a little bit. Then you can always use a wash to kind of age it a little bit more. So I know the Gaunt's Ghost series of books. That's what drew me into 40K. are popular, and I definitely know the Horse Heresy books are very popular. But has anyone here ever read any of the Battlefield Gothic novels from the Black Library? Like Shadow Point, Mortal Fuel, Execution Hour, anything like that? Your good friend wouldn't happen to live in Blood Gulch, would he? And drive a warthog that's shaped more like a puma. Ooh, blue into turquoise. Hey, that's pretty cool. I may have to steal that because one of the things I think about is operating plasma inside the void of space. You know, I think it'd be like a little bit colder, you know, than like planet side or. But then again, you gotta get into the whole, you know, some planets are ice and space wolves and stuff like that. But that's actually not a bad idea. Yeah, I totally get it's not everyone's cup of tea. I absolutely love Age of Sail books, you know. So when you read those, it's very similar to like Forrester, Master Commander, and stuff like that. But in the 40k universe, it's pretty good. But I totally get it's not everyone's cup of tea. Oh yeah, I know a lot of people like Red versus Blue. I think the first two seasons, maybe a little bit of the third, were definitely my favorite. First season, that was during my childhood. I think I was in like junior high or high school, so that was at the perfect time. Griff was always my favorite. Yeah, that was good. I think one of my favorite quotes is I think it's season two. They're trying to repair one of the warthogs, and I think it's Caboose. He's like, "Hey, what's this thing that looks like a bunny? What's this thing that looks like a soup can?" Sarge's like, "Don't touch anything." And then they started the car, and you hear him scream. He's like, "What happened?" He's like, "I was just petting the bunny, and then it went into the soup can, and part of my hand went with it." He's like, "Damn it! I told you not to touch anything. You touched everything. That's the exact opposite of what I told you." But Matthew, I think you were talking about Mantis Warriors yesterday. I was doing some more research on the war at Badab, and I didn't know they were there. I didn't know they came to the call. I mean, spoiler alert, I guess, but came to the call for the Astral Claws. You know, they fought with the Separatists against the Loyalists. I knew the Executioners did, but I totally forgot the Mantis were there as well. I was like, oh hey, I was like, that's pretty cool. Ooh, that's unfortunate. I don't know if the Executioners survived either. I think there are some other ones. What chapter? The Lamenters. I think they didn't survive it either. The more I read about the Badab War, because I never really could get into Horse Heresy. I don't know. It's a bit too grand, I think, for me. You know, nothing wrong with that. I hear it's great, but the Badab War is like a little bit more concentrated, and I think it's a little, for me anyway, it's a little bit more interesting for me to read about. So I'm really enjoying reading more and more about the Badab War. I'm yeah. Every time someone mentions Love to Hero, and I always think, you know, that hilarious meme where it's like, I don't care who the IRS sends. I'm not paying any taxes. But I'm really doing this. I'm not sure if I'll ever really get into playing like large scale 40k again, but I'm really excited with 3D printers to get back into Battlefield Gothic. So I just wanted to have like a small kill team or small boarding party, you know, for some Battlefield Gothic playing. Especially now that Fantasy Flight Games officially can X-wing miniatures. You know, they're no longer going to officially support it. So now I think it's going to be kind of time, hopefully, for Battlefield Gothic to kind of come in and shine. I'm hoping, anyways. You know, we'll see. Do you lament not having your army anymore from fifth edition, Baron? It's funny you mentioned that, Baron. That's what suckered me into the 40K. Like I said, I started Battlefield Gothic, and I remember showing up to this real small tournament in Texas, and it was a apocalypse game. I say not really a tournament; it was more of an event. And the cool thing was they had a huge world they were fighting on, and then on a small side table they were running Battlefield Gothic games. And whatever fleet won got to do orbital bombardments on the ongoing apocalypse tables, and it was really cool to see that multi-level style thing. I like events like that. Ooh, Primaris. I still don't know how I feel about him. Like I said, I left in seventh, but how do you guys feel they're gonna handle the OG Space Marines, or I guess the Firstborn? How do you think they're gonna handle them in the lore going forward? Are they gonna ultimately be replaced by Primaris, or what do you think? No, I feel you, Nathan. That's what these guys are. This is just an old school box of, firstborn tactical marines, like the old Tin Man squad you could pick up with all sorts of stuff. I felt that was the best way to do it. And again, I'm not a huge up to date on the lore kind of guy, but what I think would be a really cool storytelling is if, like, let's say one of the big flights, one of the big high fleets coming in Leviathan or whomever, like imagine all of Death Watch, or imagine all the chapters are ordered to give up their firstborn to sign into like basically Death Watch or temporary Death Watch or Death Watch auxiliaries. So you have the primary Death Watch guys, and you have basically it'll be like a legion of Death Watch, and it's all the firstborn from all the different chapters, and then they go and do like a one-way crusade, almost a suicide mission to try and stop one of the Hive fleets. I think that would be a cool way to do it. Sorry about that. Tap the camera. It's a bit finicky. So I decided to do chain bandits. I thought that'd be kind of cool for like breaching through ship hatches and stuff like that. Got a lot of like Gears of War style vibe. But I don't remember reading about it too much in 40k lore. If any of you guys are more versed in 30k lore, do they pop up more often in Horus Heresy? I feel like it'd be like a Horus Heresy kind of thing. Chain bayonets. Yeah, I just thought they were kind of a cool thing. It'll definitely be kind of a rule of cool, not so much for anything with the tabletop, but I think, just super easy lead belcher, just hit it with a little Nolan oil, just easy peasy. Ooh, the old world. So, I actually have a 1,000 point army that I'm in the process of painting. I've kitbashed them as I do. I use mostly parts from Wargame Atlantic and Frostgrave. What I'm doing is again, you can tell I'm a pirate guy because I like Red Corsairs. So these are Pirates of Sartosa, but what they are is they're privateers with letters of marque, so they're sailing for the Empire. So it's an Empire army, but they're all tailored towards being like merchant sailors, which is pretty cool. My spearmen are whalers. My free company are deckhands. My cannons are obviously like cannon crew, and my archers are like buccaneers. It's pretty neat. I'm having a lot of fun building it. It'll be on the stream once I finish these things because I gotta paint them up. The downside is I'm going with a paint scheme of a merchant navy, so it's very similar to if you played Sea of Thieves, kind of like the Merchants Alliance. It's white and blue and gold. Painting like 100 model army with the main color of white is a pain in the ass. I found that out the hard way. Now, as far as the actual gameplay, I haven't played it yet. I'm really excited to. I wanted to add a good rank and flank style game to my repertoire, as it were. So that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited for a classic rank and flank style game. But like I said, I mostly main bolt action and Combat 47, small little platoons, company size skirmish games. But I wanted something grandiose, if that makes sense. So that's why I built a old world army. Yeah, yeah, it was a lesson learned here. I was like, ooh, I have regrets. But one of the cool things, and again, I'm always a really cool guy, but I do like the WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get on models. Like I said, I'm more of a kit basher than a painter. But for fun, because again, these guys are pirates, they're from Sartosa, my handgunners are actually free seraphim. So they're lizard folk, with muskets. I picked that because they're my Marines. I thought it'd be kind of cool, so I kind of built them to be almost more like iguanas. Have you ever seen an iguana swim? So they kind of like lizard folk, but they look like iguanas, and they carry all the muskets. So they're like my Marines, for assaulting. It's pretty neat. I thought it was kind of a cool thing to do for the pirate army. Here you go. I can actually show you my free seraphim Marines. So they're green. They have dark green tails, but they have like little blue cloths, which identify them. With the humans who wear white and blue and gold, and they have like these little blue frittles. But they're I built them more like iguanas. There's another one. He's got like a little pouch. He just got his blue cloth. He's got his his handgun, and of course this close combat weapon. Yeah, I got all 1,000 points built. I just gotta paint them all. I have a lot of pile of shame that's gray. I do a lot of building, not enough painting. Definitely not enough playing, but I think that's true of most people. Oh my goodness, my balls have become a certain shade of blue. It's Mad Larkin himself. What's up, Larks? Banzai! We were just talking about Old World actually, Larkins, and can't tell you, but the lady's a lie. I don't know if anyone ever told you that. She has skaven feet, and you know it. What's the Monty Python quote? I'm telling you, a dame chunking scimitars is not a it's not a functional government society. You can deduce my age and that I'm an American by the fact that I got the red versus blue quote dead on, but I messed up the Monty Python quote. So I also do a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition, and Curse of Strahd is one of my favorite settings. And so when I saw the Vampire Count army, I was like, oh, I bet this is gonna be awesome. But then I noticed I didn't have any archers, and I thought that was very, very strange. But I think in the old world, you're able to take allies. So I think that kind of fixed it for the Vampire Counts. I'm telling you, clearly I'm biased, so what the hell do I know? But if GW stocks were hurting, like, hey, we need to make some quick cash, all they gotta do is release a Pirates of the Vampire Coast line. bring in the the undead pirates. Whew, man, they would make a killing. Can you imagine the big old rotting leviathans and stuff like that? Oh man, that's just a license to print money. Yeah, that makes sense, Larks. The other thing I thought was really cool is yeah, airbrush, but I really like the idea of the questing nights. So that's kind of cool to be able to have like all this different heraldry, and be able to do all these nights different. Like that's super cool. That's the thing I always thought was really cool about the Bretonians. I remember when I first started painting models of Edition, I painted a whole chimera by hand, and my army's colors, they had blue uniforms, black armor, and their vehicles were black with blue tiger stripes. They were naval support squadron. But I painted one chimera by hand. Never again. I remember I went to go talk to a GW manager, a good one, not the one you hear horror stories about. He's actually a super cool guy. I've talked about him on our podcast before. But he's like, it's worth it to buy the spray can. Trust me. The first time I used a Chaos Black spray primer can, I was like, this is worth every penny. I forget. I actually, because I gave away my guard army and all my Valkyries and Vendettas like that. I wanted to pass on the hobby, to someone younger, and I sold it for like pennies on the dollars. But I forgot I actually do have a Warhammer 40k army still out there. It's actually with my brother. It's a Death Watch army. I thought Death Watch were cool. It was kind of cool to pair up the Marines with the weapons. Like all my heavy flamer guys for salamanders. Kind of make things make sense. Um, and the reason I really like that army were the Corvus Black Stars. I had two of them. I just recently saw that I think there's still rules for Corvus Black Stars. I'm not sure, but those were insane flyers. Fun to paint. Later, Baron. Thanks for joining, man. I appreciate it. It was nice hearing your opinion. It's a good idea about the plasma. I may actually use that. I appreciate it, man. Take it easy. Yeah, again, I'm an old dinosaur, but I remember in 7th, the Corvus Black Stars, what made them super unique, and there was art for it too, which was cool. The ramp could go down, and you could have a Death Watch guy on a bike assault from the Corvus Black Star, as long as it was hovering. It's the only flyer I know that can do that, and it was absolute insane. So I was recently reading up today while I was at work. I was reading up on the codex for Chaos-based Marines that came out for 10th, and I saw they have like little different sets of rules, and they kind of like mirror all the different types of chapters. It's like Alpha Legion, Sneaky Boy stuff. Has anyone seen anyone take the actual like Chaos Cultist style rules to a tournament and seen a big old Cultist army for Chaos? It'd be cool to see. Oh, awesome, Larkin. Well, hey, thanks for saying hi, man. Definitely get some sleep and good luck at your RTT, brother. I hope your Ogrins do well. Yeah, I thought it was kind of weird they took away the cultist ability to take auto guns and all sorts of other special weapons. Like, I think the cultist models from the Dark Vengeance starter box way back in the day, I think those are probably some of the coolest cultist models I've seen. But it looks like now cultists can only have like pistols and close combat weapons. But I think under that rule set, they let you take trade or guard as a battle line unit, so I guess that kind of makes sense. Yeah, it may seem kind of weird, but I think the best way to do that is just to run it as like a an option underneath the actual Imperial Guard Codex. You know, I think because that's when you get stuff like the Blood Pact, who are basically, you know, highly regimented, well trained. You know, they just happen to fight for the other side and wear matching red. But yeah, I think the best rules for that, in my opinion, granted I don't play the game, but I think the best rules for that would have it be a subsidiary underneath the Guard Codex. But that is one of the many things that pulled me into bolt action and Conflict 47 away for after I played Warhammer 40k. Is I played like a traditional guard army, you know, I had fun with it, and I was always going up against like weird stuff. People would have like their gods or their primarchs, and like I was like, gee, it's so much, you know. I was like, I just want a good ground pound kind of fight. Then I moved to bolt action. It was cool. I was like, oh, this is just like guard versus guard. You know, when you look at a guy and he has a machine gun, you're like, huh, that thing that looks like a machine gun probably has machine gun rules. You know, like a mortar acts like a mortar. I remember fighting like Tyranids, and like, oh, this guy has a gun. I was like, that's his arm. Like, yeah, but it shoots like flesh bullets. So I was like, all right, I believe you. Whatever. True, but sometimes you do, and this is why I like Conflict 47 or Bolt Action. It was actually my first Bolt Action game. I ran into someone who apparently no one played him for a reason. You know, it's just my luck. But you know, he kind of played a little shady. You know, fast rolling dice and hiding dice rolls. But even away from that, sometimes you will run into people who argue historically, which there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I like good historic stuff. But you know, they'll have like a rare tank, which there's only like 50 in the whole war. But then when you bring bamboo spearmen, they're like, oh, they weren't very many of those, and that was just a rumor. You're like, oh, geez, here we go. But, you know, there's the term rivet counter. You know, people are like, oh, that's not a tank scheme that was around in that year. There's a time for historic stuff, I think, especially in tournaments, but for, like, casual bolt action games, you know, it's kind of rough to run into that guy. Which is why I like Conflict 47. You know, people are like, oh, that wasn't a camo scheme. I was like, well, it's also 1948, and there's werewolves. So, like, what do you want? I had one dude debate with me. I looked at my watch for 15 minutes. What I had taken were I had taken lunge mine. So if you're not familiar, Imperial Japanese had basically shape charges on the end of a bamboo pole. You know, and they'd run up the tanks and stab it, and a shape charge, without getting all super nerdy into it, you know, it's a concave piece of copper. The explosion forces a molten projectile, and it eats through armor, and then the heat follows through. It's a whole thing. But what a lot of people think is like they're suicide, which is it's true. You may or may not survive that, you know. But a shaped charge is generally one direction. It's not an omnidirectional explosive. So some of these guys actually lived. But one of the things he was upset about was I took veteran lunge mine. He's like, how can you be a veteran suicide, you know, bomber? I was like, I appreciate the humor and I get it. I was like, but you know, a lot of these guys may have survived it. It's just they die in the game for balance. You know, like, but some of the lunge mine guys actually lived. You know, or more importantly, they're actually a veteran soldier, and it's like their time to grab a lunge mine. They still know how to take cover, and you know, I'm up, he sees me, I'm down, kind of thing. But he debated with me for 15 minutes on why I shouldn't be allowed to take veteran, you know, lunge mines. So I was like, Jesus. Yeah, the IJA don't have, you know, what you would call a main battle tank. We don't have really medium or heavy tanks. We do, but they're like super rare and expensive. So our way of fighting tank battles and bolt action is with lunge mines. You know, our tanks, which are more of light tanks, you know, they're great for just stomping infantry or other stuff. But yeah, you don't get into a tank battle as Japanese. Like that's not your style. You know, you really just want to kind of hit them with lunge mines or some other stuff. But people get really upset. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. You know, I'm not gonna take a panther on with a chiha. You know, I was like, it's not gonna happen. Even a kaishinto. Yeah, it's one of those things. I know bamboo speed fighters are kind of busted. I personally don't use them. To be real, I mean, the militia are just a few points more, and they actually get a rifle. You know, so there's really no point. But I get the meme list. I think it's funny too. But I've had people like refuse to play a list that has bamboo spearmen. I was like, really? I was like, that. It's like someone could have a DACA tank or or like medium machine gun spam. I'll still fight them, like, even if it's a cheap thing, or like I see with the British, a whole bunch of land mattresses. I'm like, I'll still fight. I don't care if it's a cheesy list. I just want to roll some dice and have fun. Ooh, a panther, you say? Here, let me show you. It's still in box. I haven't got around to it yet. It's again on my long list of pile of shame. But I'm actually working on some demo armies for Conflict 47. And let's be honest, Germans are very popular, so I'm working on a German army. I'll show you the panther I have. Ooh, here we go. A Panther X. Yes. Yes. So that's a Schreckenwerf projector. Basically a giant gravity cannon. So the more heavily armored you shoot at, the more damage it does. It's like hitting a truck, you're going to do less damage than hitting a giant tank. And also, more importantly, it can also slow down infantry. So if someone's trying to bum rush you with zombies or anything like that, you can also slow down infantry. So, so glad you brought that up, Nathan. For those you don't know, I'm actually down here in Tiki Land, sunshiny Florida, where it's never cold. Very rarely do we ever get the middle of winter or the drama that comes with it. But it's funny you mentioned about being the bad guys, because I'll be doing demo games at a local friendly gaming store, and my biggest fear is to do anything that would have like the crooked windmill, because I'm terrified of like a Karen coming in and seeing that and freaking out and immediately taking that drama to the poor local friendly gaming store and making it their problem. Like, I would never want to do it to anyone's business. So, long story short, for my demo Conflict 47 German army, I'm actually doing it as if you ever seen a pulp theme. If you ever seen the movie The Mummy Returns, the second Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser, I'm actually doing the Cult of Imhotep. So it's kind of like an Egyptian, occult German style army. So the Panther's gonna have all sorts of like Egyptian hieroglyphics written all over it. The troops, I have French infantry from 1960 to 1940 and some Afghan infantry, and I'm gonna kind of mix those together to make them look like the cultists, with fezzes and turbans and stuff like that. So, and the zombies, the Totenkor zombies are actually gonna be mummies. So I'm really excited to build that army. And I feel like that's going to keep me safe from people freaking out and be like, oh my god, he has crooked windmills. He must be one of them. So hopefully it keeps it nice and safe for a local friendly gaming store. But it's a shame I have to do that. Yeah, so those will be my three demo armies. I have plenty of Japanese built. What I do is I break them into like two small 500 person teams. Just recently, I got the living shit stomped out of me by one of my own things. I kind of line up the models and let them know like, hey, here are the three different 500 point teams. Pick which one you want, and I'll take one of the other ones. And last time I did that, I got rocked. But maybe it's a good thing. So now I'm trying to build other nations. So in the works, I have that mummy German army, and then more importantly, one of the best deals you can find with bolt action is the British airborne starter box. It's like 1,000 points in a box, and for very affordable. So I got that, and what I plan on doing is I got a Grizzly medium walker to add to it, to bring it up to 1250. And I think what I'll run it as is a semi-historical unit. There's something called the Caribbean Regiment. So I think that's what we're going to run it as. So they're going to be kind of a lot of, Bohemian, Jamaican, a lot of, renegade Americans, Mexicans, stuff like that whole Caribbean area. And they're going to use British gear, but they're going to have like green uniforms, green web gear, and they're going to have blue berets. So it's kind of cool. It's like almost like a spin-off of like a British Royal Navy detachment of the Caribbean Regiment. So as you can see, that's why I'm glad I'm doing this painting stream, because one of my big problems is I build. I build a lot, but I rarely get around to painting, and I rarely ever get around to playing. So hopefully this stream will amuse some people and keep people entertained, which is awesome. But for my selfish side, it'll help me kind of slay away that gray pile of shame that I have, because it's massive. Oh, why would you hit me with a topic so cool like that? I could talk hours for that. Yes. So every nation kind of branches off to a different style of weird science for Conflict 47. The Americans lean heavy into, Tesla and lightning. The Germans have physics based, so that's why they have the gravity guns and rail cannons. Russians just steal shit from everybody. And they also have sonic weaponry. And the Japanese focus on compression, which is super cool. So they have compression guns and compression rifles, which are kind of neat. They're kind of hard to describe. They kind of attack on a molecular level. Lore-wise, they spend a lot of their money making stealth subs, and so they're a whole huge threat in the sea now, because now they have these crazy stealth subs. But some of their cool units, they have the ghost attack squads, which are really neat. So they have molecular suits, and what that allows them to do is they can phase into and out of reality. So they can phase through buildings and walls and forests. So if you have a bunch of troops garrisoned in a house, they can just phase right into that house, pull out SMGs, and give them the old Bonnie and Clyde. Also, every faction has their own heavy infantry, and usually they're pretty not generic, but they're pretty like one size fits all. But the Japanese, their heavy infantry actually don't count as large units. Their battle armor is a lot smaller, and more importantly, they separate into three different types. They have ones for regular battle, which have SMGs and grenade launchers. They have close assault ones that carry swords and SMGs. And then they have anti-tank ones, which have Panzerschrecks. So the Japanese really go for modularity with their heavy armor. And the Japanese also have their version of zombies. Lore wise, the difference is the Germans figured out how to return their own dead soldiers back to life as zombies, and the Japanese refined it and they figured out how to turn all dead soldiers back to life as zombies, which is much more of a hit to the morale. After a battle, when your buddy, John crawls up from the grave and tries to, crack your cranium with his canines, you're like, this is it's a little bit different. All right, we're coming up on the tail end of the stream. Like I said, I don't stream for too long, especially not at the beginning. I'm just kind of learning, kind of find my feet, as it were. So I'll generally be doing from 2 a.m. Eastern to 4 a.m. Eastern, whatever time zone that is that works for you guys. But it's about a 2-hour stream, so I appreciate you guys kind of joining and chatting. It definitely helps. Makes time go by. It's always fun chatting with you guys, especially about Conflict 47. God, I could talk about it all day. But yeah, we got about 8 minutes left, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish up a little bit of painting, and that's really it. I appreciate you guys joining me, and again, I'll be on it again tomorrow. I'm gonna start streaming Saturdays and Sundays, 0200 to 0400 Eastern. So if you guys can't sleep, or if it happens to be morning for you guys, you kind of swing by, please do. Feel free to drop some chats. If you have any questions about Conflict 47, I can answer them. Anything else, I just love to talk about. Oh yeah, there's actually two novels for Conflict 47. The first one's called Seaforth Ladies, I want to say, and the second one is Going Dutch. It covers how the Canadians get involved and the war as it drags on into 1947. It does a really good job. People are running out of people to conscript, and so the Canadians are bringing women into the front line of combats. But they put them in the actual walkers, which makes sense because anatomically at that time period, most females were a little bit shorter than males, so it was easier to put that kind of crew in a walker. So it's actually kind of a perfect fit. The books are really, really good. I enjoyed. There's a lot of typos, but you can find them for pretty cheap. And if you like lore and stuff like that, it shows you what Conflict 47 looks like. And a lot of the supernatural units Germany uses, it's all for morale damage. So it's like a normal stand up fight during the day with weird war weapons, but at night is when the werewolves and the zombies and all that stuff comes out. It's absolutely awesome to read about, like, light walkers going up against like werewolves and shredding them with 50 cals. It's super cool. Awesome. Yeah, it's awesome to hear, Matthew. Like I said, always welcome to have you. Like I said, most of my career I worked mids and I worked graveyard shifts, so that's kind of why I wanted to target something kind of at night. That way it gets kind of like people who worked weird hours like I did, something to listen to, kind of pass the time. So that's great to hear that it works for you, man. That literally makes it all worth it. That's super cool. Well, you can find them on Warlord Games website. You can also find them on Amazon. Um, like I said, they're not crazy expensive. Last time I looked, like I think it's barely two digits, like maybe $10, $15. I don't know, or like $8. But Again, there are a lot of typos. You can also probably get, yeah, I'm sure you can get on Kindle. I know you can actually, so you can read electronically if that's your bag. A lot of typos. Lot of typos. Yeah, so last I remember, I haven't got to it yet in the lore as far as my videos, but Americans took the bioscience to make like super soldiers, like Captain America style, and the Germans wanted to splice animal DNA. So first were the Schreckwolfen with wolves, then like, okay, now let's do bats. Then they did the Night Jaegers, which are basically like giant vampires, like huge wings. And then they refined it. I think they're using some type of snake, and so they're coming out almost like Yang T from Dungeons and Dragons. They're basically like snake soldiers. Absolutely terrifying. And of course, Russians just steal shit from everybody. Because again, USSR is not part of the Allies in Conflict 47, so they just steal tech from everybody. So they have like half-ass superhumans, from the Americans. They took some of the animal splicing DNA, so they have like Ursa soldiers, they have bear soldiers. It's pretty interesting. Like their first edition of power armor is literally just like guys in like steel armor, almost like construction suits, and then they get a little bit better. So the Russians are actually a lot of fun to see in Comic 47, but they're heavy walkers. Holy shit, they're massive. But I can't thank you guys enough, not just for showing up. Like I said, it's fun chatting with you guys, but spinning things around to Conflict 47. Like I said, I do enjoy Warhammer 40k. I love the lore. I could talk about it a little bit, but a lot of times I'll kind of like reach my knowledge limit. But Conflict 47, oh god, it's a niche topic, but I absolutely love it. I could talk about it for a long time, which is why I have a channel with videos. Like I said, right now I'm working on the Conflict 47 lore history from 1944 to 1945 for what happened in East Asia. It's just a lot, so it's a little bit longer than the other lore videos. But I plan on keeping them going and kind of dropping those on Wednesdays. But with that being said, like I say, guys, it was awesome. I got some painting done, which is huge, and more probably I got to chat with you guys. So for those of you guys who are able to, I'll see you guys tomorrow, 02 Eastern. So as always, stay safe and stay hydrated. If you're having trouble sleeping, I hope you get some sleep, and if you're working, I hope you guys relax because you definitely earned it today. So I'm out here, and I will see you guys on Sunday.